Black Link Magazine is so honored to welcome our dear guest, Uncle Jamz, who is now known to Black Link Magazine as the Dr. Uncle Jamz. Uncle Jamz has worked with some of the biggest names in the industry: Mariah Carey, who he has won 2 Grammys with, Usher, Plies, Babyface, and the list goes on. You all help me welcome our dear guest, the Dr. Uncle Jamz.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Black Link Magazine. I am the chief editor, Marva B, and I'm so excited to be here. You guys, this is a very special interview. So humbled to have gotten the interview. It means everything, and so I'm very appreciative. Uncle Jones, welcome to Black Link Magazine.
Thank you very much for having me at Black Lake Magazine, Marva. I'm honored to be here.
Well, thank you so much. The reason that I wanted to bring Uncle Jams on is because I feel like he's one of the few people in the entertainment business that has the knowledge of the entertainment business that he can share. And so I just felt like it would do other people good to hear from you, Dr. Jams, Uncle Jams. I keep calling you Dr. Jams. So anyway, what I would like for you to do now is if you would please go ahead and introduce yourself to the world. For those who don't know you, let them know who you are and what you do.
I like that title, Doctor.
I know. I keep saying doctor, like
Hey,
uncle. It's uncle.
Uncle. I'll be your Uncle Doctor.
Uncle Doctor Jam. I
We'll be
got.
Doctor Jan for
I
tonight.
gave you a new. I gave you a new name.
Hey.
Hey, hey.
I, since you're going to get off into management, I guess I'm going to have to give you some commission for that. Basically, I've been in the music business, I guess, 4 decades. I started out in the late 70s when I was managing this group called Manchild out of Indianapolis, Indiana, which is my hometown. And part of the membership of that group included a young Kenny Babyface Edmonds, and it also included Daryl Simmons and Reggie Griffin, to name a few. From there, I started to develop some songwriting skills, some music producer skills, in addition to the management skills. I also continued my journalistic skills because I wrote for my high school newspaper and my college newspaper. I used to do interviews with music artists. Just kind of always was interested in music ever since I became addicted by seeing the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show in the 60s when I was a little boy. And so that sort of bug that hit me, no pun intended on the bug, since the Beatles were named after a bug. Once that sort of got all the way through my system, I sort of developed this incredible desire to like a lot of genres of music. So in addition to liking the Beatles, who were kind of pop rock, I also liked Motown with the Supremes, the Four Tops, the Temptations, Marvin Gaye, and Junior Walker and the All Stars. Then I also liked the sounds down south of Stacksville with Otis Redding. And then I, you know, transitioned into liking the Philadelphia soul sound of the OJs. And then we got into my incredible like of Aretha Franklin and the Queen of Soul, the Godfather of Soul, James Brown, as
Yes.
well as I like the Rolling Stones and the Yardbirds and Paul Revere and the Raiders and the Beach Boys. And, I was just all over the place. And I grew up in a household where I heard Cannonball Adderley, Dinah Washington, B.B. King, Lou Rawls, Bobby Blue Bland, Mahalia Jackson, the Swan Silvertones, the Dixie Hummingbirds. I was just exposed to all kinds of music. And so that's probably shaped me into being the person that I am today. I wanted to be knowledgeable about every genre of music, and then I wanted to be knowledgeable about the business of music
Yes.
because I originally started out as a singer in rock and roll bands. And at one point in time, we had a con artist for a manager. And I said, it shouldn't be like this. So I wanted to learn about the business of
Yes.
music. And a lot of people don't understand there are three aspects to this thing: there's the music business, and there's the music industry. And if you fail to be able to recognize all three, then you're not going to be a success.
Wow.
So I pride myself in dabbling. Well, it's more than dabbling. I pride myself into having developed skills in all three aspects. So that's a little bit of my back history and a little bit of who I am. Of course, we can get into whatever else you want to talk about, but you asked for the back history stuff, and I'm not a person that really likes tooting my horn. You have my bio, so you can toot
Yeah.
my horn. We ride down the freeway of Black Link Magazine.
Yes, yes. So I am so glad that first of all, you named some heavy names, some big names in the business. Babyface for some of the current people, younger people, Patti LaBelle and Otis Redding, and all of those people, and all of those touch home with me because my father was into music. I mean, I was just around music. Not that we can sing or we're entertainers or anything, but they just loved music. It's something about music for everybody, I think. And you named some big names. And this is why I wanted to talk to you because you have been 10 toes deep in the business. And a lot of people, a lot of the up and coming or a lot of artists, period, aspiring artists, they look at it. I'm writing my music and I'm performing on the stage, but it's much more than that. I know Auntie Jackie always says it's 10% show and 90% business. And so let's talk about a little bit about the business. I know that when I talk to people in the business, they say it's a really grimy business. And if you're not careful, you can get swallowed up by this business and never return. So why do you think that is? Is it just because the not knowing? Miss Norwood, Norwood always says you got to know the game. You got to be able to play the game. So let's talk about that.
Well, the problem is that music artists get so excited about the music, and they think that that's all there is to this is just the music. I made a record. Oh my God, they played my song on the radio, or I put my record on SoundCloud or Reverb Nation or whatever. And that doesn't mean anything, not a thing, because did you have that record cleared with one of the performing rights organizations? Did you get that record encoded with BDS and Mediabase? Did you get the split sheets right? A lot of these terms that I'm throwing out here, people don't even know what they are. So that's the first problem. It's the lack of knowledge. And Sonia Norwood is right, and so is Auntie Jackie. It's less about the music and it's more about the business. There are a lot of people that we've admired over the years and we've never heard from them again.
Yes.
And that's because their business wasn't handled right. Some of them signed some horrible contracts and they're pretty much stuck and they can't do anything else because of those contracts. I have a really, really good entertainment lawyer who has written a very good book about the business of music. And whenever it gets a little too deep for him, I know how to pick up the phone and for me, excuse me, I know how to pick up the phone and make that call. And we have constant conversations about the changes in the business aspect of the music business. It's a grimy business because they like to take advantage of those that don't know. And
Mm,
if you don't know, you're just ripe and ready for the plucking. And they will do it, they will swallow you up. A lot of people don't recognize that if you sell 1 million records or recordings or whatever, now it's not so easy because it's streaming, but they do not pay you on those 1 million sales. They pay you on a fraction of that. And they hold back usually 10% for what they call defects or returns or uh, whatever. Now, I don't know how they want to do that with streaming because that's really
right,
changed the game.
right.
But selling 1 million records does not mean that you're going to become a millionaire because most of the contracts are for very small incremental percentage of the total. And you don't make any money until they have recouped the investment in you. So let's just say, I know some serious music acts that have sold 1 million copies and they walked away still in the hole because their previous records did not sell. So the books continue to carry that negative balance. So you walk in there and say, hey, I've got a platinum album now. And like, and your other 3 albums were flops. So we have all that debt that has to be recouped before you get anything. So maybe that million selling album might have gotten you out of debt. So perhaps that 5th album might be the one where you'll see some sort of money, if you understand what I'm saying. A lot of artists don't realize that the people that they look up to, the only way these people are very wealthy is from tour dates, merchandise, and endorsements and other deals outside of music. Very few people have become super rich from the sale of recorded music because they do not pay you 100% of the sales. You go into the game in the hole because, I mean, it's understandable. They're putting up the money and you're bringing the music. So until they get their money back, you're not going to get any money. But the thing is, how do you know what's really real? Because the books are always funny. You've got the person giving the money, that's the one accounting to you as to how much you owe. Well, how do you know how much they really paid in promotions and marketing? They can tell you it was $70,000, but it may have only been $43,000. You have no way of knowing.
So you won't know that? Like the contract won't spell that out? Or is it that they've signed that contract without knowing what they were signing? Because can't you negotiate those percentages?
Well, the best you can do in a situation like that is hope that you can have true and accurate auditing. You are allowed to audit,
Huh.
but the first thing you should do if you are going to sign with a major label, you must get a knowledgeable entertainment lawyer who can help work you through these things. I've been a part of three major label deals, and on two of them, I had a great entertainment lawyer. On one of them, I didn't have a great entertainment lawyer. Probably knew as much or more than he did. But that's the first thing. And we were able to get some revisions in some of those clauses because I think Sonia had addressed this one time in one of her rooms. She said, they're going to give you a standard contract. It's just like, here it is. And artists are so eager. I remember this record executive told me one time in Nashville at a music conference, he said, music artists are so eager to get a record deal, they would sign their name on a piece of toilet paper. And he's right.
Yeah.
I got a record deal. I got a record deal. That's all somebody wants to say. Well, what did you give up in order to get that record deal? You know, they do not give you any money. You hear people having such and such signed a $5 million deal with Columbia Records. They don't give you a check for $5 million. That means everything that's encompassed in that deal is worth $5 million. The only money that they give you is the back end budget of your recording budget fund. Once you turn in all of the proper things after you do the sessions, the producers, the engineers, the studios, and all that is paid, whatever is your recording budget fund, the back end of that, you get that as an advance. They do not write a check to anyone for $5 million. It's a $5 million deal, which means everything that's involved in the deal is worth $5 million. And you don't make any money until they make their money back. And then you get a percentage of that. Back in the day, people used to get like 6% or 8% recording contracts. And then it was people like Janet Jackson, Michael Jackson, Aerosmith, Madonna, people like that finally were able to move the needle to where they could get $2 per album sale. Before that, it was pennies. Do you remember the TLC problems?
Yes.
I mean, they were selling a whole lot of records and they said, we're not making any money. Well, they had a serious situation in the sense that they were signed to a management deal to the wife of the head of the record label. And then the record label had a deal with Arista Records, and Arista Records had a deal with BMG. So you had a whole lot of different stepping stones that have to go through. So first of all, the manager advanced them a lot of money, gave them the American Express Gold Card and said, go out and have a field day. Well, they thought that was being done out of the kindness of the manager's heart, not realizing that's an advance. So then when they signed the recording contract, that was an advance. So they didn't have any money coming after selling millions of records because they had been advanced out because they didn't know any better.
How does the entertainer move forward? I mean, if you're always getting advances that you have to pay back, so even if you go out on tour, when you come back, you got all these people to pay. How does that work? I don't understand how they get ahead, or why is it even worth it?
Well, you'd have to be an enormous success in order to get ahead, where you're getting to the point of making $100,000 a night, like the A-list people. Uh, and you have to learn how to keep your expenses down. Sometimes artists bring it upon themselves to end up broke because they have all of their homeboys and homegirls and cousins and everybody out with them. Keep your circle small.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it. Keep
Right.
it very small. And
Yeah.
that way you don't have so much overhead. Rather than staying in the presidential suite and acting like you're all that in a bag of chips,
Yeah.
how about just staying in a 4-star hotel or a 3-star hotel that's good and clean? You're hardly there in the room anyway, because I've been on tours and I can't remember being in the hotel room 8 hours. So why do you need a presidential suite? You have to learn to minimize to in order to get to the point of maximizing. Some of it is brought upon yourself.
So you talked about getting a lawyer, a good entertainment lawyer. What are your suggestions about doing that? Because again, how do you know who to trust? I know you do your research, but even by doing your research, it can still be, is it just like a gamble, or the whole thing is like a gamble? You're just taking your time.
It's definitely a gamble. I mean, you have personal managers, you have business managers. The business manager is usually a CPA. That's that. And then you have a booking agent. Then you have a lawyer. Then if you go out on the road, then you have a road manager or tour manager. Then you have a production manager. Then you have a sound engineer. Then you have a lighting engineer. Then you have a band. Depending on what kind of actor you are. If you're a hip hop artist, you may just have a DJ. But the problem with a lot of hip hop artists is you see a bunch of people up on stage and like, okay, who's a part of the group? In terms of a solo hip hop artist, you only need the DJ and maybe one staff member. So that's 3 people on the road. That's all you need. You don't need any more than that. But sometimes you see these hip hop acts and you see 10 people and you're like, okay, why are all these people there?
Yeah.
You can make sense of this if you operate from sense.
Right.
Recognizing that it's going to be grimy and it's going to be rough and
Right.
you've got some trials and tribulations. But if you study, if you execute, it doesn't have to be as bad as I'm making it out to be. I'm really speaking to the people that don't do it right.
Yeah.
There are too many resources out there now for you to do it wrong. And also, people need not enter into this game thinking they're going to be the next big thing.
Right.
With streaming and the state of affairs in the music industry, it's difficult for someone to turn into a superstar now. We're not going to have very many Lil Nas X's or very many Megan Thee Stallions, the people that come out of the box with, these situations. Megan Thee Stallion did not just occur 2 years ago. She was already doing this. And then she finally hit pay dirt. Lil Nas X at one point in time, from what I understand, was homeless or bouncing from place to place. He didn't just all of a sudden, boom, there it was. He just happened to luck up and have a very catchy tune that became the biggest record in the history of the world. If you notice, he has not been able to duplicate that.
I think their understanding is that they have to understand that they have to be willing to suffer a bit before you ever even think you're going to make it to that point. And when you said homeless, like I know a lot of celebrities that lived in their cars, and but stayed committed in order to get to the next level. So it's levels to this thing, I believe.
It's like an endurance race. You have to have that staying power. You have to have that dedication. You have to have that commitment and recognize it's not going to happen overnight. And you got to stop listening to what your family members say. Sorry about that, because they tend to have love for you that's unconditional. And they might tell you, oh, you sound good. Oh, you rap great. You're a great singer. Oh my God, your flow is so good. And they wouldn't know if the bars were in sync or if the person was in key, if their life depended on it. So, that's my baby. So I know my baby can do no wrong. Well, your baby was hitting all the wrong notes. I'm sorry.
So true. So true. Oh my gosh. Okay. So a question for you. Would you suggest being an independent artist, or would you suggest the big labels trying to get
Well, First of all, it's difficult to get to the big labels because nowadays you're only going to get to the big labels if you have made enough noise independently to the point that you have so many algorithms and your followers and all that crap that they look at. They don't want to, they're not in the business of star making anymore. They're in the business of taking what is already there and capitalizing on it. You know
Mm,
what I'm saying? In other words, of all these people that you see getting major label record deals now, that's because they have a significant buzz that they've already created, and the label doesn't have to do that much work. Back in the day, labels actually went out and sought people with talent, and then they brought them in and nurtured them, groomed them, and brought them along the way to make Diana Ross and the Supremes be what they were, to
yeah.
make the Temptations be what they were. We don't have that nowadays. They
So
don't have artist development departments anymore.
so does that mean, does this now mean that there's no like A&R really that's necessary to have now?
The A&R of
So
today
yeah.
is different than the A&R of yesteryear. A lot of people go around saying I'm A&R and R, and they don't even know what A&R means. Let me say this to all the people for Black Link Magazine. A&R means artist and repertoire. It doesn't mean anything else. So if you got a street club DJ who's now saying he's A&R, okay, that says it all right there. And
No,
that's what a lot of the labels started doing in the last 10 years. They started hiring people that had their ear to the street. And therefore, that's why the street pulse is different from maybe the real talent pool. A lot of those people that have that kind of ear for what's good for the street, they don't recognize real talent. They just recognize what feels and sounds good for that moment that the streets like. The streets have never really bought music.
right,
You can be hot in the streets
right.
this week, next week. Who? What? I like people that have staying power. That's what I like.
You said that a lot of these entertainers, they it's either they're coming up off of merch, they're coming up off of endorsements and things like that. How difficult or not is that to happen for them in order to, make it all even out? I got all these people to pay. How do I get my endorsements to be able to stay above water? What do I need to do other than touring?
Billy Preston said it best in one of his big hits. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. So
You're right.
you can't just come out of the box and think somebody wants to do an endorsement deal with you. You may not be that person that anybody would even think that your image is marketable to the point that they'd want to do an endorsement deal with you. It's been made so easy now for people to make what they call music. They can do it in their bedroom, bathroom, basement, at homeboy's house, at JoJo's house, and say, I made a record and I'm gonna put it on SoundCloud. Well, it may be crap. It may not be anything that anybody would ever gravitate to and want to do an endorsement deal with you. This may not be for you. It's too easy now. A lot of the people that are out here rapping, they should never get in front of a microphone. A lot of the people that are out here singing with auto tune on every song they do, they should never get in front of a microphone.
I
I
agree.
believe that we really need to get back to real talent. That's the only thing that's going to save us because these trendy folks only last for one hit. They're one and done.
Right.
Where are you going to go after that? If you can't go on stage and sing for real and you have to have auto tune, I mean, how real is that? And then you've got to look at your look. In order to sell a product, there has to be something that attracts people to it.
Right.
So if, I'm not trying to shame anybody for weight or for their looks or anything like that, but some people just are not marketable to where any company would want you to sell Lay's potato chips or sell, what is some, what's the Prada or whatever,
Right.
you've got to be that person that would bring people in. When you see people on commercials, it's something about that person that they feel will be able to sell that product. But if you walk in looking like McGilla Gorilla, I don't think it's going to happen for you.
Oh
All right.
God. Oh gosh,
Right.
so much. You have
Sometimes I give it straight with no chaser. It's like
that's how hey, that's how people learn. That's how you get it, right? Give it to them raw, else they're not gonna get it. Don't sugarcoat it. But
exactly.
it's just so much to this business that it's almost scary. If I can be honest, it's almost scary. It looks like you all we see is the glitz and the glamour. All we see is the fun. That's it. But when you get behind the scenes, is
A lot of that is smoke and mirrors, like a lot of these things you see in videos, and you're like, oh my God, he's doing real well. He's got a Rolls Royce. Look at all those diamonds. Look at that mansion. That stuff is rented. It's not theirs.
they don't own it.
You know, I just came back from Atlanta and we did 6 music videos. I was there for 9 days. We had a super fancy convertible that was in one of the videos. We rented it. We
Rent
can,
it.
yeah, we could get a Rolls Royce. We could get a whatever, a Jaguar, whatever you want. You can even get Teslas. You can do all that thing. It's rented, you know.
I was just in Atlanta too. I got back on Sunday. And
What?
I love Atlanta. Yeah, I love Atlanta.
Atlanta has a lot of cultural things that I enjoy, but I absolutely despise the traffic. And the traffic is
Oh, I
the
was like
traffic. Mm-mm,
around the clock. Where y'all going? Where y'all going?
it's too much. The
But
traffic
I loved
is
it. I
just
loved it.
is a beast. Food and the culture is great.
Yeah, I loved it. That's what I loved about it.
Welcome to Black Link Magazine, the right magazine for the right purpose, where we aim to elevate your business to the next level through advertisements, interviews, and features in the magazine. If you're interested in elevating and gaining your network stability, please contact us at www.blacklinkmag.com.
You mentioned Babyface. So did you tell me your connection there? Can you?
Yeah, he the week he graduated from high school, I had to go meet with his mother. He was 18 years old for him to join the group called Manchild. And she gave me a very stern warning. You have to take care of my son. And so we've been friends for 4 decades. Uh,
Wow.
I was his manager for a long period of time, and we have written songs together. We've worked on a lot of projects together. He's very fond of my famous Uncle Jamz chili, and many
Oh,
times when we hook up, I have to make chili for him.
oh,
When he's out doing tour dates, I have to bring a giant industrial-sized pot, and the security people are looking like, "What do you have in that pot?" I'm saying, "Hey, Face wanted some chili.
yeah.
You brought chili for him." I said, "Yeah, that's what friends are for."
That's right. When I was reading your bio, and you haven't mentioned it not one time, so I'm going to mention it.
Uh-oh.
You have won some Grammys. You let's talk about that. Let's talk about your accomplishments because it wasn't like overnight success. It wasn't like you just jumped in and you got those. You had to work for that. And that's what you're talking about here. And that's what you're giving them. But then you were rewarded. Tell us about how you got the Grammys and with who and what it took to do that, to get there.
I prefer being behind the scenes. Um, they say I have oratorical skills. I don't mind talking on the radio and doing interviews. When I was in college, I used to be a DJ on air in college. And I've even done some voiceovers for things. But as far as being the out front guy, I don't like doing that. So I've co-written some tunes over the years that have earned RIAA Gold and Platinum status. Uh, I can't probably name them all off the top of my head, but just a few. The first one was with Midnight Star on their No Parking on the Dance Floor album for the song Slow Jam. That was really great. Then we had the deal with their Eyes of a Stranger album that had True Occasions on it. Then we had the group called The Boys that was on Motown Records. Then who else? We even moved up into the hip hop lane. People like The Game
Okay.
and Flies featuring Ashanti.
Yeah.
Then the R&B singing group Next. All of these are gold and platinum records. And then we have the Soul Food soundtrack. And then we have Usher, who sold about 7 million records. Then we have Mariah Carey, which was the real biggie with
Saw that.
People Put Together. That's where the 2 Grammys came from.
Yes.
Then I have about 6 BMI awards, about 4 Billboard awards, and probably one of the greatest things is being inducted last year in the Soul Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So yeah, got some things happening there.
Congratulations.
I remember reading somewhere that 2 of the songs that I was a part of, Slow Jam and Two Occasions, are 2 of the best slow songs of all time. And people come up to me and said, I made babies to those songs. I said, "Don't be asking me for no child support. That's not my problem."
Yeah. Right.
Because you danced and fell in love on a slow song and
Oh my
did all of
I
that. Don't
remember. I
you can't have
remember.
my address. I'm not paying for your babies. No.
Funny, funny. All right, Uncle Jams, thank you so much. What would you leave with someone, especially these younger cats that are trying to get into the rap world? Like, I know you've given them a lot today, but what is one thing that you want to leave that they can walk away with in addition to what you've already given them that you just feel like you need to let them know? Anything?
The technology of today is great. One of my cousins, who's one of my artists on my label, I have 15 acts on my label. He's really very heavy into the algorithms and the stuff of the day. So we combine that with me being OG, as he calls me. So OG is always going to be relevant because we know our stuff.
Right.
And so if you can apply what we know with what's happening today, then you can have a winning situation. So my advice in direct answer to your question is there are people like me that are out there, and I want you to be a sponge and soak it up. You reach me on my social media. I do not charge an arm and a leg, and I'm not going to rip you off. I do consulting, and I want you to get it right. I want it to be right for you. And we're going to follow what we call the pecking order. That's the established order of doing things to try to get you over the hump. But if you already know it all, I think you have it all, then there's nothing I can do for you. If you want to release your music to SoundCloud only or to Reverb Nation only, I'm not the guy. Do not reach out to me. But if you want to get your stuff right, if you want to make sure that it's properly mixed, properly mastered, that it's encoded, it's cleared with the PRO, that the split sheets are right, and that you're pointed in the right direction, then I'm the guy. But another thing, I don't deal with the explicit music. If your music requires a parental advisory sticker, that's not anything I do. I'm not throwing shade at people that do that, but that's not what I do. But you can reach me on social media. I'm on Instagram at Uncle Jamz. That's UNCLEJAMZ_. I'm on Twitter with the same name, but there's no underscore. I have a UNCLEJAMZ Facebook musician band page. I have a Facebook page for my music label and management and consulting company called MECAP Music and Entertainment. That's MECAP Music and Entertainment on Facebook. I can be reached all those kind of ways. I'm accessible if you're about business. If you're about that other stuff, take that over there because that's not what we do over here.
Wow. Wow. To everybody that's listening, if you have an interest in getting to the next level and you're really serious about it, this is your guide.
Yes, I
Again,
love my young people. I want them to succeed, get some knowledge. And also another thing I want to say, not everybody is cut out to be a rapper or a singer. There are other jobs in this entertainment industry that you can do. Maybe your skill is being an engineer. Maybe your skill is being a publicist. Maybe your skill is being a tour manager or a production manager. Or maybe you play an instrument and you can play in somebody's band. Don't think that the people like that, they get paid. They're not living off of royalties. They're not under contracts and hope that it's going to sell and hit pay dirt. That's a paid gig. So learn about these things. There are plenty of resources out there. Everything you always wanted to know about the music business, this music business book. There's all kind of resources out there for you to learn about this business. And I know that you're trying to learn because there's some things that you want to do. And I know there's some things that we can talk about offline,
Yes.
because I'm interested in hearing this individual that you have DNA with.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes.
And I don't know whether this person is a singer or a rapper. I don't know yet.
Yeah.
But I want to find out.
We'll talk. I would
Because
love.
if this person is anything like his mother, that's a nice smile.
Oh, thank you. He is so. He is. He is.
Okay.
Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to that conversation. But I'm out here trying to get everything under my belt to prepare him. And so the conversations that you're having, he's going to listen to this interview. I'm going to have him sit down and listen to this, and then we'll connect with you. And that's
Okay.
why I see so many of them that not ready. They're not ready. And I just want them to hear it because I don't want them to be upset. I want to save them before they get there. Try to, right?
Right. Recently, I went and spoke to a class of young people. I think they ranged in age from 14 to 17. And I have to say it was a highlight because I made some connections with some of them, trying to steer them in the right direction. And they were very respectful. They wanted to pick up on the knowledge. They wanted to be sponges. And I like that because the young people are our future. And if they don't get this right, then we're doomed.
That's right. And
You
that's
know.
what I always say. You guys are our future. You gotta be that one that gets it. Everybody's not
Right.
gonna get it. Everybody's not gonna get it, but you gotta try to get it. No question is a dumb question. If you don't know, you gotta ask.
Right. If you don't know, you don't know.
If you don't know, you don't know. But when you know better, you better do better.
Hello.
That's it.
Good day. Good evening.
Drop the mic.
I was going to say that's a mic drop time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Drop it on out.
Yeah.
I heard it hit the floor.
Drop the mic. So yeah, thank you again so much. I'm very humbled by your presence and for you being here. I appreciate it. We will follow you, of course, and I will be in touch. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Marva.
Yeah, thank
Best
you guys.
wishes to Black Link Magazine.
Thank you so much. We're going to get out of here right now, you guys. And so what I would tell you is respect yourself and respect others. We're out.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.